All right, we are live and good to go. Apologize a little late tonight. Had a little extra time, so wanted to bring you some more stuff here on a Tuesday night. So I've got a bunch of great offensive, themed clinics going on tonight. So we're going to talk about intermediate pass game. We're going to talk about spread run game. We're going to talk about 21 personnel. Three things, that I think any offense has some element of, maybe not the 21 personnel, but it's pretty common, to see, especially in the Canadian game, spread run game, and everyone's got to have some kind of intermediate pass game. We've had a bunch of tech issues here. My webcam wouldn't work, pushed it back. Then the film software that I was using, the cut ups I made didn't come out the way I wanted them to, but we're going to soldier on and figure it out. And then tonight at 9 o'clock, which is coming up in about an hour and a half, really excited. We'll be joined by probably Canada's best, most explosive player in the CAS game right now, Trey Ford, quarterback with the University of Waterloo, who's just a tremendous player to watch if anyone's seen him play. And coaching against him as both a high school player when he was with the Niagara Spears and seeing him, play across the street at Waterloo for the last 3 or 4 years now. There's very few players I respect more, both as a player and now getting to see Trey in the training side of things. Now that he's got his platform on Instagram, sharing what he knows about as he prepares for the NFL and CFL combines with younger athletes. It's just great to see him doing that. So we're going to talk to Trey Ford at 9 o'clock. So if you're watching this and you're a coach, fire something out to your players. It's going to be a great interview, whether they play quarterback or not. We're going to talk a little bit about quarterback development, then a lot on strength and speed training for athletes from an athlete's perspective. So going to be an interesting night. Definitely a few things that I thought were going to go differently in terms of having a couple cut-ups set that I'll be able to find. I'll be able to find the film. It's not probably going to go as smoothly as I want it to first time around. So in terms of what we're going to do, I'm going to start with the intermediate pass game, and I'm going to pull up our huddle and draw some stuff, and then I've got some film of it being run at the OUA level. As always, if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. This really, the onus on doing a little more time tonight is we have a little bit more time this week. I had a little more freedom to spend some more time, and we're very close to our 4,000 watch hours, which we need. So please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. The more likes and comments on the video, the more YouTube will send it out to other people to get them watching it. So I'll get into it. I'm gonna pull up our huddle here. Like I said, stop me at any time, when you have questions. And as we go through here, we'll hopefully, give some coaches some ideas in the intermediate pass game. I think there's probably nothing more important, to an offense than having a strong intermediate pass game, especially in 3-down football. I guess you could argue having the vertical pass game. If you have a really good vertical pass game, you don't need the intermediate pass game as much. But you're going to see a lot of second and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in Canadian football. That's just the way it is. It's a different game than the American game where you can kind of take little pieces here and there. You're going to have to get chunks, and you're going to have to get, stick moving plays, really plays that win the football game for you, whether you're down and you need first downs or whether you're up and, you're trying to get first downs and move the clock, and get ahead of the sticks on first down even. That's a huge deal in terms of being successful in the Canadian game. So there's a few things we're definitely going to link together today in terms of the intermediate pass game, both out of spread and then connecting it as well to our 21 personnel stuff, which I'll talk about in a few minutes here as we get going. And linking those things together with play action. But right now we're just going to talk purely about drop back and being able to throw the ball at or beyond the sticks and a drop back pass play. I'm just going to fire out a tweet here saying we're rolling. We'll get started. All right. So to me, the key about the intermediate pass game is your quarterback being confident in it. Typically, these throws are going to be into, at least slightly tighter windows just by the nature of the fact that you have to get the ball, at least part of the way down the field. You're threatening those areas of the field that the defense doesn't want to give up Obviously, beyond just the deep ball, the defense, is going to be teaching their linebackers, teaching their flat players, hey, we got to make sure that, we're playing in a high-low situation. We're playing, top down and bringing the ball back down. So the first one I want to talk about was really good to us at Laurier, and anyone who saw Laurier football play, kind of between probably 2014, 2017, 2018, 2019, Lace was a huge concept for us. And it was a great way, whether it was Curly Gittins, Brenton Hall, to get our X to football. So one of the big things I think about in the intermediate pass game is where do you want your best player? And there's a lot of different, reasons to have your best player be the vertical threat. They're going to get a lot of attention. And, you want your best player having the chance to make the biggest plays. But one of the things that was great for us about Lace is we were able to throw the ball to our best player at the sticks. So it doesn't need to be out of empty, but I'll draw it up out of empty. Basically, what you're looking for is a classic scissors concept in the boundary. So we're going to push through. If I can get that to work there. We're going to push through the high player with like a clear out or push through corner route. Okay. And then the X is going to melt inside a little bit with the stem, try and get that inside leverage. And then run this post at whatever angle he needs to win. Okay. So if we're getting, cover 4 look, okay, this might be a little bit deeper to get on top of the will. Okay. If we're getting a man look, this might be a little bit shallower to get underneath the boundary half. There's a number of different things you can do with it on the opposite side. We would often run 50. So we would get the back and the flat as a way of controlling that will linebacker. Okay, and then we would always try and have a will replace from the opposite side as well. Okay, over here we would tag it with different things. I think our base version off it was just post and dig to try and eat that free safety. Okay, but ultimately what we're looking to try and do is read the flat player through the will. So we're going to get some relationship between the half corner and free safety. Okay, we should be breaking under the safety with this post. If the safety wants to make it cloudy, then we should be able to take the ball to our Y on this skinny post in the middle of the field. Okay, but if we can keep the safety high and in the middle of the field, if he basically does anything other than jump right now on this post window, all right, then we're going to work the boundary side of the combination. Okay, so we're looking first to read the flat player. So if the flat player backs up, so if we get both these, players backing up, okay, the flat route becomes an immediate option. Okay, if someone, let's say they're playing cut over here, okay, if the flat player plays down to the flat route, all right, now we're going to read the will. Okay, and the will is likely going to be getting some width here with the back. So there's kind of 2 windows you could put this in. Okay, if the will flies out to rob the curl, okay, then you can wrap the will in behind his ear. If the will kind of protects that hash mark, all right, then the quarterback can almost throw this down. And just based on the throw, it almost becomes like a curl in there. Okay. If they're able to rotate the coverage into the boundary, which would make this tough, where the will is able to get up and underneath of that route, then we're coming back to our will replace. So if the flat player wants to drop and help them play 2-on-2 on this concept, we're going to take the flat replace route. If the will wants to drop to help them play, ultimately 3-on-2 on this concept, then we're going to take our will replace. If the free safety wants to get out of the middle of the field, then this center field shot to the post becomes a viable option. A couple different ways we've run it. So that was our base out of Ace 32. We also loved it out of empty. So we would have a number of ways to get to 42 empty. Most often with our W being over here in the quads, and then getting the tail back out. So this was great for us, and we didn't see a ton of HBO, especially when we had Curly Brenton over there. But for any team who's looking to work their X, right? If you're getting a team that's not HBOing, you want to get a second receiver out there to give yourself a chance to work a two-man combo. So we go even better if they do HBO or rotate the coverage. Now you're going to get the Will manned up on the back. So we would run the exact same thing. Now the back is going to run that push through corner. Then a lot of people call this the scissor route. Right, he's going to come in again, high-low in that Will. We would pair it with a lot of things. Again, out of quads, the opposite side of the field. Really, really common for us, which is a concept that I love. It was huge for us in our Yates Cup. Would be what we called witch. And unfortunately, I don't have any film of this. I might have one of this being run this way. But basically, our Will replace is now going to come from the W. Okay. And then you could do a number of things here. We ran kind of a push through curl and then two slants. You could have this guy hook up out here as well. So basically, we're still running the lace concept. That's what we want to read first. If the Will makes this 3-on-2, okay, then we're going to come down to our Will replace route here, this drag route or chair route in the middle of the field. If it's 2-on-2, we're going to win on the lace. If they want to IO, we've got to get this half to flip his hips by pushing vertical through the stem there. And then we're going to break that IO and get underneath of it. And then if they're able to play, if they leave the half over here and the Will expands, take away that window, you should be able to wrap the mic. And if the Sam wants to play, that under route, if the Sam wants to squeeze this under route with the mic, you're now going to have that second slant in there. So that's lace. It was really, really good to us in terms of getting chunk plays down the field. And like I said, we'll go to some film of that in a few minutes. You can also do it out of 23. It's effective out of 23. We even ran it out of 23 and kept it in the boundary and just changed what the flat replace looked like. But your standard scissors concept, and it's been really good to us. Really high percentage throws. Quarterbacks liked it. Short throw in the boundary. You got a really good player getting your best player, usually your X, getting a route at the sticks. Second one that I wanted to touch on would be shout. And I think everybody runs some form of shout, but there's a couple things I think that I really like that we did with it that gave us a chance to be successful. One of them would be is running the base way we ran shout, which is a double out concept with a vertical on the outside. So if we had two receivers or three receivers, sorry, we would run it with the inside player on the vertical out more often than not. Obviously, with two receivers, you're just going to get that fade out. Good man beater, been in playbooks for as long as anyone can remember. But what I like that we did out of is we usually ran it with the three receiver running the out. And what I really liked about that is it really put the field half in a bind, and it made this second level throw a little closer for the quarterback. So if I was a high school coach, this is definitely how I would run it. And I'll show you why as we get the defense on the field here. So if you're, ultimately, if we're running this to the field, okay, we want to get that horizontal and vertical stretch on the field halfback. We're assuming that the field corner is going to cover this vertical. If he doesn't, there's your touchdown. That's the easy part. Okay. Now we're going to bend in, and usually the Sam is the wall player. So as we push in, he's going to maintain that inside leverage, that wall leverage. Okay. As number two goes to the flat, this halfback has to make a choice. Is he going to expand with two, even if he doesn't jump down on it, but is he going to expand with two? Okay. Or is he going to hold his position kind of outside that hash mark? And to me, if I'm this quarterback, if this is a long throw, totally agree with that. But if I'm going to make a long throw, I want it to be on the shallow route, right? I don't want this becoming my deep breaking out. That's a much longer throw. And to me, the halfback has to choose earlier if you run that route from the Y, right? The corner's off the board right now, even if it's cut, right? You're going to get the vertical from the corner, but right away you guys say, hey, am I going to match this? Or am I going to kind of hold my position? And I know the DB coaches are going to say we're going to 70-30 the two routes. Absolutely. That's what I'll tell my players in the summer as well. I just think it creates a bit tougher of a stretch if number 2 is running the shallower out route, and it makes it an easier throw for the quarterback. This also allows us to push up the field with the inside receiver on the Sam linebacker. I like that matchup better if it becomes man. And to me, really, there's things I like better against zone than shout. I don't mind it, but to me, it's a better man play. So I want to get my best man matchup. So that would be, to me, that would be here with the H or F, whatever you call them. Okay, being able to really lean in on this Sam who's trying to prevent him from running the deep end or the post route, trying to create some contact there, create that space, and then break to the out. Two-man shout, very simple. The key is you just got to make sure you're outside release at the wideout. This has been good to us in the boundary. It's really good, I think, against man, especially if your W is a really good route runner. It gives you a chance to read this high-low, and again, you're getting routes that break at the sticks. If you're getting cover 4 with a cut and carry corner, you should have some leverage on the will as you run this deep out. It's a tough cover for the will. You just have to be aware of how that corner is going to play it in the boundary. So that's shout, another one that we'll take a look at a couple clips of in a second. Third one I wanted to get to is drive. And drive is something that I really like having in my playbook because I can use it in a variety of situations. I should have left that one. It's great as a catch-up concept on the backside of pass plays. So if you're running some sort of man beater to your two-man side, say your shout route, right? Say this is 2nd and 10, right? You're running the shout route out or beyond the sticks. And you want to have something for your quarterback to work back to. The key for me is timing. If I'm going to read this out, right, and have a real chance to throw this needs to be a little more late developing. Okay. So there's multiple ways to run it. I personally like it with a switch release. Okay. Where we're now dragging back towards that initial side of the field that we're reading. So to me, the drag concept, especially in high school, is tough on linebackers. I really like if it's 2nd and medium, I want to attack the linebackers. That's why I like lace so much. It's another reason why I like shout with the outbreaking route being on the inside player on the linebacker from the 3 receiver side. I think that it presents challenges with linebackers in coverage who might be in the right position but just aren't athletic enough to make the play on the football. Whereas the further out from the middle of the field you go, the better athletes you're going to get, the more accurate and the more difficult the throw is. So, we would run the F through first here and the Y underneath. Okay, and if we were pairing this with shout, we would read the shout. Again, if we get 2-on-2, we got to feel like we can win on our two-man concepts. If this will wants to widen, okay, which makes running this more challenging. All right, now we're going to have that drive route come underneath, okay, and that can hopefully influence the Mike linebacker, and then we're looking to wrap this Sam. In terms of the number 1, again, you can do a lot of other things. You can go to the post. All right, that can take the free safety kind of out of the equation for helping on this wrap on the Sam. So one thing I like is the Sam is going to see this route immediately break under. Okay, and the switch release really, I think, influences him to, if not carry it, at least lose, not get the depth that they really should be getting, and sets them up to be wrapped in the second window. So I've seen a ton of times too where you can tag this with getting the back out. So whether it's check release or called swing, okay, and you're trying to ultimately draw the will out. So now your Mike has to try and make this 4-on-3, and now you get your high low on the Sam. So really versatile concept. You can run anything on the other side of it, smash, double vertical, double move, whatever you want. But it's really solid, I think, on the backside of those concepts. And it's a really viable option, again, because this wrap is going to take longer. So that's the key to me, is being able to tell my quarterback, hey, I want you to play this out until it's not an option, and then you're going to work your way back. The shallow will come into your vision first, and the wrap will come second. And I think that's a valuable thing to have. Again, creating some throws at the sticks that your quarterback feels relatively comfortable with. Again, we're going to get some film in a few minutes. Again, if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. And if you can, like the video, it just helps more people find it, and helps. YouTube will send it out to more people, the more people that like it. So I think we got 4 likes on there right now. It'd be a huge help to us if we get a few more. So that's drive. So we've gone through lace, which is your scissors concept. We've gone through shout, which is your general deep out concept. We've gone through drive. And the last one I want to go through is gin. And then I'm going to touch on some play action stuff before we get into the film. We'll kind of do all the chalk talk first. And like I mentioned at the start, my cut-ups that I had good to go didn't come out the way I wanted them to, but we'll still get to the film. It just might take me a minute here or there to make sure I got the right clip. The last one I want to cover is gin. And again, I don't think any of these are crazy new, but I think for me, again, who do I want to attack on second and long? I want to attack linebackers, right? I want to rely on my players having a chance to work against their worst cover players. And typically, if you're picking a defensive player to go after, the Mike, the Will linebacker in particular have really challenging jobs in terms of matching up with better athletes, particularly if you're in spread, particularly if you can release the back. So to me, that's one of the things, again, that makes gin kind of fit with this series of plays. Is second and medium. I want to second and medium, second and long, where I want to throw at the sticks, or a 1st and 10 play where maybe the clock's against me and I'm trying to pick up some chunks. I want to go after the linebackers. So I'll get these reset here. So, and this one's one that's been run for a long time as well. We want to get another flat control here. So we're going to run a speed out from the number 3. Our number 2, and this is where I think coaching points matter. We would outside release a low defender, but inside release a high defender on our seam route. Okay. And the reason we did that was we want to protect both routes. So we're going to end up running our dig here. And depending on the age group, your player's arm strength, your quarterback, I'm going to put it at 14. Okay. We wanted to protect, if the half was low, we wanted outside release to take his eyes away from the out. Okay. And make that out a viable option. And make it a little harder for the half. Now he's going to, he turns his eyes out, right? Makes it hard for him to play that out route. But if we had a high half, we would inside release it again. We want to turn the eyes of the half away from the dig route. So just depending on what window we were protecting would affect our release there, which I think is a good coaching point on this play to have. The key really is being able to run the dig route. And I think one of the things that kills this play is when the dig's not deep enough, that receiver's got to be in a great stance. They got to be ready to go. They have a long route. This is their play in the playbook. On the back side, usually we tag it with some kind of post combo. Post wheel, I think, is a really common one. You'll see on the back side of this. Sometimes if you have a single receiver, it'll just be a skinny post. Okay. You want to make sure that you're controlling that free safety and you have an option in the middle of the field if that free safety tries to play the dig. So in terms of reading this out, again, your classic 3-level high low to the field. We're going to see if we can take the seam shot, right? If they drop the seam, if the free safety is too preoccupied with the backside post, or the field corner stays wide with the dig and we have room to throw that seam, then we'll throw the seam. If we can take the touchdown shot, we'll take the touchdown shot. More than likely, though, what you'll get is, especially when number 3 goes out, you're going to get the free safety. His eyes will go to 2. He'll be playing the seam. As the field corner sees 2 getting vertical, he'll be matching that depth as well as with the dig route. And then when 1 breaks in, usually you're going to get both those players converging on the seam. And then ultimately that's going to open up your high-low, the first window being above the halfback. So if our wall player doesn't get any width, we could make a first window shot and high-low the half. That's your most common shot. And then your second window would be if the Sam were to fly out there, you could wrap back inside. And that's probably more of a timing thing. And most Sams aren't getting all the way out of that window. That's why we're running the play. You can really enhance that. And I've drawn everything up out of Ace 32 just for simplicity, but by using some play action. So one of our most common ones would be we get our fullback in the game. You know, Westerns run this forever. And we'd get the power play action. So we'd show the down. Fullback on the end. Pull the guard. Okay, we get our hard play action again. This is going to make things so tough on the Sam, right? Any step up at all from the Sam basically makes it impossible to get to the dig window. You know, if you think your Sam can get there, turn on Western tape for the last 15 years and that dig window is open. So it's been something we've had success with. It's been something a ton of OUA teams have had a lot of success with, you know, particularly Western runs it as well or better than anybody that I've seen. And then you have your backside post. So particularly at 31, I like this because if they don't HBO, okay, then you're going to get help on the backside post. And that really puts the Sam in the bind. If they do HBO, now you may have that backside post as a viable option, right? Now you got that one-on-one on the backside, right? This is a track meet. And usually we're putting our X receiver in the backside of 31 as our best player. You know, hopefully as an offensive coordinator, you like that matchup. If you get that one-on-one, your quarterback has time to make that throw, can be a great matchup for you. So that's 4 plays that to me, what when I started thinking about this, what pulls them together is we want to attack linebackers. Lace is going to attack the Will if you run it into the boundary. Jin is going to attack the Mikes and the Sam. Shout, depending on what side of the field you're going to run it on, but you're really attacking the outside backer to the side that you're running it. And then Jin is going to attack same thing, an in-breaking route to the outside backer to the side you're running it. So 4 plays that I think have a ton of value in terms of attacking linebackers in the intermediate pass game. Don't see any questions. Again, if you have questions, please hit me up. I'm going to pull up a couple clips here. Again, I had some issues. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen while I try and get these clips up for you. While I'm getting this set up, just want to give a big shout out to Coach Sharps at Virtual Football Clinic. He's been helping us promote some of our videos and really helped us get over 1,000 subscribers. So we did go over 1,000 subscribers last week. We're really excited about it. We have some really cool stuff in the works for July. I've said on here, you know, a few times, I'm a teacher and last weekend was report card weekend. So pretty busy time. But as we get into the summer, I'll have more time to dedicate to this and doing some things other than just videos that I think can really help some programs. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's watch some clips. So all right. So this first one is going to be Lace at a 4x1. And we'll see it play out here. It's a great visual for again. We want to attack the Will, and the Will linebacker here does a pretty good job running with number 2. Not 100% sure coverage wise what they're looking to play. You see that there's a little bit of movement pre-snap here, trying to get back, you know, the hash marks. It looks like some kind of cover 4. You know, maybe cover 4 cut strong, not sure. But you see the Will. You know, in 42 empty, they're trying to get the boundary half here, back to that boundary hash mark. We're going to push through, all right, and we're going to turn the hips of that Will and get to the corner out, okay, so that we can snap underneath on the post. And you'll see the Will here. They get past the point where they can make the switch, right? So again, I'm not sure exactly how they're playing this, but they get past the point where they can make the switch. And you see the scissor route there or the lace route come open. Brenton Hall did this really, really well. huge key for the push through corner is you cannot get rerouted. So you have to get a clean release. Obviously, like any push through route, if you get slowed down, it affects the timing. And then this isn't a really clean look at it here because they're actually bringing the Mike linebacker, but you see that kind of witch route concept working back into the quarterback's vision. So if there had been a player drop underneath this, we would have come back 1 to 2 on these slant routes. Appreciate the comment there, Husey's Huddle. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name right, but thanks for being on. Yeah, it's been a great year getting to 1,000. And hopefully we're just building to more here as we get through the summer. So there's our first clip of lace. Again, I think like the key is it's like any scissors route. You have to understand who's going to push through for who. And then in terms of running this post, there's off coverage here. So what I would encourage Brenton to do is don't peek over that shoulder early. You want this corner to think that you're going to run an out route. It looks like with Brenton's split, he doesn't have inside leverage initially, but he's able to get inside leverage. And then Cavante does a great job of running that corner to pick through and really open up that exact window we want on lace. Again, attacking that will linebacker. Again, you just gotta give me a sec here because my cut up that I made, there's some user error on the cut up. Didn't play out my way. Okay, here we go. This is going to be another look at lace now out of a 32 set. Or sorry, this is 42 empty again as well. We just have our tight end in as the number 4 to the field. So I put this one in here because I think this could be a common high school mistake that you see. And this is actually 2 freshmen running this in the lace here. So our running back is pushing through. So initially, I like the distribution here in terms of the post runner is about a yard behind the corner runner, okay? But our running back opens up here at about 12. That's good. What I would tell our X here is we've done a great job pushing vertically. We've got to be flatter to the post. We run a very skinny post route here. And ultimately, because we get a skinny corner and a skinny post, we end up in the same window. All right. So the last one, is showing a play we really like. Here, showing a play we can definitely improve on. And, coaching high school athletes, I could totally see this being, a mistake players make. We want to make sure that our post runner is underneath the corner runner. Okay. And that's going to give us a chance to throw in that window. Now, what I do like, and this is some zone pressure from Coach V here, is our quarterback's reading, hey, they've got 3 to cover 2, right? We don't get into our post enough. There's no way we're going to come back down to our will replace. Because the will is carrying into this window, we can now come down to our will replace, which is our tight end on that witch route. Catch, get upfield. All right. So there's 2 looks at lace. Let's get a look at Jin. So don't pay any attention to the protection here. Again, we've got a lot of freshmen in this clip, and we get a mistake at the boundary tackle. But this is the exact drawing that I showed you. Okay, we're going to go 31-2 back, put our fullback to the field. Okay, this would be a great second and 6, you could still run the football, or 1st and 10, and you're trying to get a chunk to get a drive started. And you see we get a little token play action off of our power look. And remember, I talked about how usually with this seam route, you're going to see the free safety and the corner, or whoever the high player is, end up bracketing that seam route. So that's going to come off the board. Here's our high-low on the half. Half can't be right because he's relying on the Sam to push so that the half can play 70-30 down to here, and the Sam can wall this off. Well, the play action gets the Sam stuck. And you see there's no way he'll have the depth to get underneath that dig route. Okay, 20, here's the Sam. Right? And there's just no way he's ever going to get underneath into that dig window, okay, off that play action. That's a good look at Jin. You can also run it here. We're going to run it into the boundary. So now we put our 3 receivers in the boundary. We do this more so if we think we're going to get an HBO, if we think we're going to get a team that's going to travel into the boundary, or a team that honestly that isn't going to do that. So we know we're going to run the ball into the boundary a lot, and we can really influence the linebackers up. So one of the two things, if we think we can get the linebackers on play action, we'll run it with trips into the boundary, because we know if they don't HBO, we're probably going to run away from that field halfback and take the numbers advantage. So we need something to protect that. So here we have our trips in the boundary. Okay. Here we get a little more pressure. The other thing I like about the Jin concept is you have that kind of speed out underneath. So if you do get pressure, you do have a place to go with the football and give yourself a chance to pick up the first down. Okay, but again, here you see as I play it through, the corner ends up playing with the seam route. All right, and then this is going to be our dig window right in here. You see how open that window is? Even before the quarterback throws it, you see the linebacker's eyes, all right, out there in the flat. If we can hold this for another split second, we're going to be able to throw that dig window into the second level. Get my film a sec here. Again, stop me any questions you have, even if it's about something that's different than what we're talking about here. I'm happy to answer it. It's the same one. Like I said, I had some issues with my I had some issues here with this cut up, but I think I'll have what I need here. Just give me a sec. Here's the Jin out of the drop back. So here we're running it on the back side of a smash concept. So we're going to read, the way we would do this here out of spread is we'd say, okay, if we're 2-on-2 to the field, we're going to work our smash concept or a double slant concept or whatever our quick game is. Here we have 2-on-2, so we're going to take it. All right, but if we got the coverage rotated into the back or rotated to the field, then we work our zone beater on the Jin. Okay. take a look here. Just pulling up another cut up here. My bad on these. I had them and then I didn't get them saved properly. So it's kind of scrambling to get these up. Okay. Share my screen again here. Here we get a good look at a drive concept. So we're going to run drive off the 4 receivers to the field. Okay. When we go 41, the first thing we are looking at is could we get, our fade swing really acts as kind of a fade out. We're trying to pull the will out of the box. We're trying to get them to go 3-on-2. If they don't go 3-on-2, then we like our options there. Okay, but we see that drive concept play out here to the field. So the will gets out of the box with the back. Right, and this is why I want to attack linebackers. Remember I talked about how I like the switch release because it encourages the Sam to try and get his hands on this under route, which ultimately delays them from being able to play the dig. Okay, and we see it here with the post route at the top to keep the free safety out of it. So we're getting drag, dig, post. And again, you see as he tries to get to where he's going, he's doing the right thing. But I think that's Metcalf, one of their best players, really good player in the league for a long time. He's doing the right thing. It's just a very hard play to execute. Now Connor ends up scrambling here and maybe not throwing the drive the way we typically would. But, you see it in this clip here as we run the under. It gets the eyes of the Sam, which makes it so hard for him to redirect and get back to that dig window. Okay, so ultimately we like this. We got 2-on-1 off the board, right? We got Will off the board. We know we're going to be able to work this high-low, okay? And it doesn't maybe happen the way we normally would here, but it ultimately plays out the way we'd like it to. I think I had one more shout here. I'm hoping it comes up and we can find it. It's not going to help. I'll leave that shout here for now. We've got about less than an hour now till Trey comes on. So I'm going to switch the spread run, which I have a little more film correctly set up for, so that'll be good. So I'm going to hop back on Huddle here. To me, and if you have any questions about spread run game, please throw them in the chat. And if you haven't yet, please like the video. The key for me with spread run game is what do you want to be good at and what can your players execute? So I think when people think spread run game, they automatically think zone read, which is obviously a big part of the CFL spread run game for good reasons, a very effective play. But I would say there's a lot more to spread run game than just that. And I've got some clips of one back power and what we call dart as well. Or sorry, what we would call draw or dart as well. So I'm going to pull up our huddle again here. Basically, in terms of spread run game, formations make a big difference as well. You can get into outside zone, something we're not going to really talk about a ton here tonight, more so inside zone variations, and then one back power. So first thing to me is you got to identify, is your quarterback a runner or not? If your quarterback's a runner, zone read's a great way to go. And we'll get into kind of some of the specifics I like off zone read. Even if your quarterback is not a natural runner, if they're able to move and throw the football, you can get yards for free on the ground, and you can create really easy, really simple throws. So, I think everyone knows what a basic zone read looks like. I'll go through some of the coaching points we've used that have helped the quarterbacks and helped the running backs in that mesh in a second. But one thing I think really allows you to challenge the whole field on offense is to run what we would call zone read with a smack. A lot of teams run this, very common in the CFL. You're going to get kind of a snag concept on the backside. And then your inside player, slot, whatever you want to call them, is going to run a slip route or a scrape route into that boundary flat. So we're running base inside zone up front. If you're looking for inside zone videos, we did a great series with Alan Rudolph on how to drill and run inside zone up front. So I won't get into necessarily any O-line technique, more talking scheme here. But I really like keeping my zone downhill, almost more of a backside zone where we're really reading the hip of the center, okay, on whether we're going to get vertical or whether we're going to push it into the front side A, or we're going to cut this thing back and wind it back off the backside one tech. The reason I like to get vertical is it brings the linebackers down to the offensive linemen. Good question here in the chat, Coach, especially for summer ball. How much are you looking for crossover in your plays? So for your gin concept, you show up for PA and drop back. Yeah, that is absolutely probably the most important thing. I was actually talking with our offensive coordinator for the Cambridge Lions last night and talking about some things that we'd like to do. And it's just so critical that there's carryover and crossover between what you do. You only get so many concepts. And so being able to use some of your part field concepts with your full field concepts and your play action game is critical. It's one of the reasons why I've run a lot of snag as a pass game concept, because I like to do it off the backside of the zone read. But yeah, absolutely, especially as a starting point, especially now coming back off having no football, it's critical to be able to do that. So here in terms of zone read, that's a great question, Coach. Thanks for putting it in there. We absolutely would. It would be 2/3 of what we do. We would try and carry through our entire playbook. So drop back, play action, use other plays in RPOs. We match our quick game with our RPOs and our drop backs with our play actions. So in terms of zone read here, we're going to read the backside end like everybody does. And the reason I like the downhill zone is it really lets you cut back. If that end gets upfield at all, creates this huge cutback lane that we want to take advantage of. If the nose plays front side and the will plays front side. The reason I like bringing this F or H across the formation is if our quarterback pulls it, he doesn't necessarily have to be a runner. Okay, think of this F as the pitch phase of the option. Okay, so it's going to force the defense to adjust. If the Sam wants to track, this pick route is going to make it very hard for him to get over the top. Typically your corner is going to be covering here. Your half is going to get pulled up by this corner route. Okay, and you should be able to high-low the corner in the flat now with a smash concept. If it's man, even better. He's going to get stuck on this. All right, we're going to have that available to you in the flat. Speaking of carryover, this is a really, really easy play to install. We would run it just drawing it up as a drop back pass. We called this snag 2 years ago, and we ran it a ton as a backside quick game. So we would run the back to the flat. Can run this as a backside quick game and read 1 to 2 to 3 or 2 to 3, depending on the week and how we thought we could high-low that corner. So we would have that in our playbook and then use it on the backside of our zone read, which was really good for us. The other thing you can do, and this is credit to Coach Galloway at Laurier on this, something that I picked up from him just last year, is also bringing the Y down. Okay, and then you can do a number of things here, but you could have the Y make sure the Sam doesn't blitz, and you could have the F run the scrape. Okay, or if you wanted to run, something different on this backside, say you wanted to run like your corner comeback over here, you could now run this Y on an over route to replace the linebackers on top. So again, you're still reading the end, but now again, if you get a pull, you're building a set of options for your quarterback, so they don't necessarily have to be a runner. Knowing your receivers helps too, because you can run this and say, hey, we're going to lead block with this scrape. So we're going to have this player leave the end and become a lead blocker for the quarterback. And then it's obviously more of a run play, the quarterback keeping it on the run. You just got to know the strength of your players and what makes them comfortable. The next run play I wanted to get into is one back power. And this is something that I hadn't had very much experience in. Eric Krebs, who's with Laurier as well, kind of brought it to us in my last year with Laurier, and it was very successful. In the Waterloo game we played there on Thanksgiving night, we probably don't win that game without that install. So credit goes to Coach Krebs on that one. But for us, we loved it because it was a great change up, especially against some 30 fronts, which we'll show you in a sec, where we're still going to read the end, and we'll get to RPO in a minute. But now we're going to run power on the front side and look to kick out this defensive end. Okay, same read concept on the backside. Really in the spread run game, you're usually reading somebody, whether it's RPO or zone read, okay, or you're bringing somebody into the box. But this was really good for us because this end often would, especially in high school football, gets up the field. We get a hard double back down here, and we're able to give the football and get underneath it. The best version for us at the time, we'd actually pull the tackle. A lot of people call this dart. And so you get two hard double teams in here, working back, pull the tackle, and you're going to look to kick out this defensive end, exact same thing, and read the backside end. In terms of RPO, and I want to make sure I get to the film and get to some 2021 personnel stuff. In terms of RPO, what I love about spread run game is you don't change very much. If you're running inside zone, for us, and this is one thing I actually feel reasonably strongly about, is you want to make sure if you're RPOing that you're running downhill run plays. Not that you can't do it with outside zone. You just got to kind of set. Oh, video's not playing. Of course it's not. I got a bit of a lag on. I got a bit of a lag on the questions that pop in the chat, so that's great. It's been one of those kind of days. Here, 1 second. Okay, there we go. That's probably easier, eh? Visual medium, whole lot better. There we go. I just got a text about it as well. Perfect. Well, thanks for you guys for taking care of me there. It's like my students who when I'm not sharing my screen, they're all over me. I'll go back and show that again. So I'll finish what we were talking about with one back power. So if we're trying to run the one back power, we really like it with the two double teams on the inside and then to pull the tackle. And then have the guard and center here. That's drawn terribly. Have the guard and center work together to that will. This gives a little more of a zone look. Obviously, the tackle's pulling, but you get the four four players working together here. This can really look to this defensive end like it's zone away, which can trigger them to play shuffle and gives you a chance to kick them out and then get underneath it. So that was what we were looking at there with the one back power. I'll go back and show you the scrape stuff on the inside zone as well. But if you're looking to run the ball and RPO at the second level, one of the things I really like about the spread run game is you can keep things very similar for most of your players. So I would encourage, if you're going to run one back power with the RPO, to block the tackle on the end and pull the guard. So when we're zone reading the backside end, we're fine with pulling the tackle. Here, I think you're better to try and pull the guard and then keep your run play really downhill and tight. Okay, we don't want to go too laterally because we want to get across the line of scrimmage quickly on the RPO, so that linebacker doesn't have time to play it and get back to the football. So if we're reading the will here, we would run this with lace all the time, which is one of the plays that we talked about on the corner. And then going to run back underneath. And again, the RPO now just becomes like the will control. So if our will plays with the puller, right, we should have 2-on-2. We should be able to win on the lace. If the will is going to sit in this window, doesn't have to back up. That's one of the biggest misnomers. If the will is just going to sit, okay, if the will doesn't play to his run responsibility, then we can give the football. And that's how I would encourage doing it off one back power. You can do a lot out of 41 too. Just depends on the contour you get on defense. So if you get 4x1, you want to take a look at that boundary half and say, if that boundary half comes to the field, now we know, hey, we got one-on-one in the boundary if we take away the will. If that boundary half stays in the boundary, now you could read this as a front side RPO. Whoop. Okay, and you're going to read now the SAM. Okay, really, really like that at a spread at a 4x1. I think it's really effective. And again, you want to be able to base it off where that boundary halfback is in 4x1. I do want to cover that inside zone stuff with the pictures. That'll be a lot easier. But maybe I'll do it right off the film. That way we make sure we get the film in too. So I'll make sure I share my screen here. Last thing we want to do is lose that. I'm just going to pull it down while I get that film pulled up. Thanks to a couple coaches text me there. Big ups for the coaches taking care of me, making sure I didn't keep doing that. All right, here we go. Share my screen here. So first we'll get a look at one back power. And I think anyone who's running spread offense is usually zone based, and I was as well. And I would, that's a very sound way to do things. I would really encourage some coaches, if you're looking for a wrinkle, one back power at a spread can be really effective. And it's great against the odd fronts that make running, inside zone a little more challenging. So you'll see it better here from the tight. Waterloo does a great job of mixing up their looks and being in some difficult 30 looks. So we didn't want to just be in zone all the time. So we wanted to have something that has a lot of zone principles to it that we could still get, the power run game out of it. So we gave our tackles the choice. Okay, if their linebacker was about even with them, that we could just block this out. So this tackle had the choice. And again, if we imagine a base 40 here, ignoring the players on the field and just working off of the what's drawn up. If we're expecting 6 in the box, usually we'd have down to the Mike, we'd have down to the Will, and then we're going to pull the tackle and then read this backside end. Here, because the Mike is going to be, we don't have an angle to the Mike is playing head up on us, okay? We're going to block out with the tackle, okay, and now work ultimately in here 3 for 3. Now they're in a really tough look the way they're set up, and our O-line does a great job picking it up. And now the tackle can just read the kick out block by the other tackle and pull through. Again, not a traditional look here, but you can goes to show you can run it more ways than one. Would have liked the back to get vertical off this, obviously, but ends up being a great hit. Nice job by the offensive line. We actually come right back with a version of that zone read I was talking about. So this is perfect. So couple different things. The snag concept I was talking about, you're going to get a walk down, going to sit on the will. Your number 2 receiver is going to run a corner. And then some receiver is going to end up coming into the box and back out into the flat. Sometimes that's your opposite side receiver. Here we do it with the receiver on the same side just to mix it up. But you'll see here the condensed action. You see that pick route, how it makes it hard now to get out and cover this running back. Okay. The will here is related to number 3. 3 gets in the box. Now they're stuck. The only player that can play that's the corner. And then we're going to be able to high-low on that route. So that's a good look at that inside zone concept. Now, again, like I said, Waterloo does a great job of mixing up the looks in their 30. Okay, but this is what I mean by we want to be downhill with our inside zone. So we want to get vertical so that we can read the cutback if it presents itself. I don't love getting too front side because it makes it hard for us to get vertical and cut things back if there's a cutback there to be had. It's another look at one back power here. So here we did run at a 41. This is a little more the traditional look where we're going to block down. You get a good look at it here. So again, with the 30, it can make, particularly the tight front, this can make running your inside zones tough, right? So, if your tackle has to block the edge player, your guard has to block the 3 tech. Handling this nose to the mic is challenging because this 4-eye, if the guard steps down, can really play down and take away that cutback lane we want. And it's a tough angle for the tackle, okay? If the guard doesn't play fast to the nose, you're never going to get the mic over the top on the inside zone. So this was one of the reasons why we actually liked this, because we thought it let us be hard on the front side 3 tech and put our center on a bit of an island, okay? We had a 5th-year center who we thought could handle this, right? Handle the nose one-on-one. Now, if the nose wanted to play really hard into this gap, right, we could get some help from the guard, but it took away that angle, right? The tight front's relying on this guard stepping down, whereas here we're able to play back through the 4-eye, leave the nose on the island, and create that wall that we want on power. Kick out this outside linebacker, right? And that's what we want. Seal right here. Get into the second level. Now, I don't condone the hurdle, but Lavondre Gordon's got like 4,000 more rushing yards in the OUA than I do, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. What I love about this is it's downhill, right? Look at the angle of the back shoulders. Makes it very, very hard, okay, for the defensive linemen to try and get off their blocks because they don't know if it's going to cut back. They got to sit in there, okay, and it stays tight to the double team. We always say we got 600 pounds on 300 pounds, okay? Maybe if you're coaching bantam, you got 400 pounds on 180 pounds, okay? But this puller, sometimes you'll get great blocks, but it's a tough job, right? We're moving in space. This player could try and spill it. He could play up the field. He could try and play it square. That's a tough job. We want to give the puller some room and stay tight to the double. But if you're getting tight front, I think this is a great way to go. Now you got to have a tackle that can make the pull. If you didn't, you could, and against the tight front, it's tougher. You can pull the guard, but again, you're chasing to cut that off with the backside player, and that makes it tough. Couple other zone variations here. I'm going to go to the one before this actually first. So I realized, having missed that whole diagram process, I'll redo that on here for inside zone. Appreciate you guys sticking with me on that. If there's any teachers that are watching, congrats on being done report card weekend. My brain's not working as well as it was before for sure. Let's look at 132. So you'll see here, similar to the play we saw in the Waterloo game there. All right, we're running this out of 23. We're going to get a walk down, and the number 1 and number 2 are going to run what I call snag. Okay. The number 3 is going to make it look like he's going to cross the set and then get back out into this flat. And we're ultimately trying to pick for that H route if the quarterback pulls it. Okay. So you see here the defensive end gets up the field. So we're going to give the football. Quarterback's got no opportunity to pull that and keep it. We're going to give the football. But if this end were to have chased the dive, now we can pull and get a quick throw into this flat. If the will were to expand, we still have this over the ball, okay, as an option. But this is a good look at the spacing. Okay, we're going to pick the will and then high-low the corner, right, and give our quarterback some options. Here you see it from the tight. I'll just draw up, because this is a base 40. If we were going to run that dart concept, we'd be double into the mic, we'd be double into the will, and we'd be pulling the tackle to kick this rush end. So here we're running inside zone. The end shuffles. Again, I love how the back is downhill initially. Okay, he's sensing some pressure off this edge, which pushes him a little bit front side, but then he gets vertical again. Again, just the threat of the run, makes it a little more difficult for them to squeeze on this dive. Okay, we're able to get in the second level. Here we run it the opposite way. And again, we get, a blitzer off this edge. So there's no way the quarterback's keeping it. It's going to be inside zone all the way. Okay, but you see here the corner, the snag, and the flat route. Again, why do I like our inside zones to be downhill? If I have square shoulders, I can see the back door. So this end gets way up field. I think it's a blitzing linebacker. Okay, and we're able to wind this thing back. And get into the third level of the defense. Good ball security from the back. I got one more. In terms of RPO, get a good look at one here. So here we're in 4x1. The will's up on the line of scrimmage, so it's going to be a real easy read for our quarterback. Okay, and 4x1, again, I said it was all about where the boundary halfback is. Here they've HBO'd on defense. So that boundary halfback's right here. So we know that we're going to want to RPO the boundary side of the field away from that boundary halfback. If we get some confusion up front, we should be working here. Okay. But, we're going to read, in this case, we're reading off this linebacker. If he's going to play that, we should be 5 for 5. And if he's going to stay at his depth, we'll give the football. Okay. And we'll play that one-on-one game. Right here, you see him take that little step up, pull and throw, slant windows there for the completion. Yeah, got one more good one here. This is at Ace 32. Okay, again, we talked about our RPOs wanting to be downhill. We want to make the linebacker commit right now. So we actually RPO the same side linebacker. So we're running zone at this linebacker. Okay, we're going to be 5 for 5. Our double is going to work to the other linebacker. We're going to read this linebacker. Okay, and again, we see we're 2 for 2. So we're going to get a zone contour here. Here's our flat player. Here's our quarter player. And we run, 2 quick game routes. Here we just run the out and the stop. And if we subtract the will from that pass coverage, we're going to have one of those 2 open. Take a look at the tight. Whoop. Again, here we're reading 40. Okay, again, we got a couple freshmen in here, but we should be 1, 2, double to 3, 4 through the double, and 5. The will clearly steps up. So now a quarterback can pull it out of the belly of the back and deliver the football. All right. We got about 25 minutes till we're joined by Trey Ford. I don't want to take any of his time. So I'll get into some of our 21 personnel stuff. And we'll go from there. If anyone has any questions, again, please throw them in the chat. Even if it's not exactly about what we're talking about, it's just something you're interested in hearing more about. At the very least, we could do something about it later. So I'll teach these right off the film. We won't worry about doing the huddle for it. You just got to give me a sec to get them pulled up. But this is something that I think is becoming a lot more common, and I'm interested to see in this year's CFL. Which we got news we're going to have one, which is great. I'm interested to see ultimately how much this comes up. But 21 personnel. And I think this used to be kind of a base offensive personnel at the high school level, at the pro level, and the spread becoming all the rage. Took some of that away, and it's now really coming back, and it's something that because we had kind of unique players at Laurier. We had some really, really good 21 personnel players, fullback, tight end types. In recent memory, Mario Villamizar, Osai Aginawan, Stu Smith, Cal Taylor, Ben Hamber, and they still got a few more good guys that I'm excited to see coming out this year that are in that group. At Laurier, we were able to have a lot of success out of 21 personnel. And one of the plays I want to talk about is what we call power lock. Quite another question in the chat. 2-man concepts. Do you need smash and snag, or do you see them attacking differently? They're very similar. I like having snag because I like it on the back of zone read. And we just used it as our version of smash, but there's a lot of really good reasons to run old school smash as well. So I'm by no means am I, snag is better than smash. We just based on the players we had and the other things we wanted to run, like at Laurier, obviously we ran them both, but for a summer football context, 2 summers ago, we didn't run smash because we just used snag as our version of smash. So when we wanted snag, when we wanted smash, we would use our snag concept. Just pulling up our next cut up here. So we'll probably go through my kind of two favorite run plays out of 21 personnel. We've got a few of them in here. I'll say for the record, I know I got Trey Ford coming on here in 20 minutes. The Waterloo film was not an intentional shot there. If you watch the defensive film, he's lighting us up as well. So there's a few Waterloo highlights on here, but just had to do with the specific plays I wanted to grab. And if we were watching both offenses, if anyone's gone back and watched that, if everyone got a chance to watch that game, just incredible offense on both sides of the ball. So this is a play I really like, which we call lock. It's very similar to what a lot of American coaches call duo. It's been really, really good to us because it looks like inside zone. And basically it's power without the puller. So kind of an old school off tackle play. I'll draw it up when we get to the tight, but we have a bunch of really successful plays with it. I'll share my screen here. Don't want to do that again. So why do we love lock? It's a downhill run play. As Coach Damon used to say when I worked with him, can't have any negative runs. It eliminates negative runs because it's simple up front, and it allows your offensive lineman to play through angles. So you get kind of the angles you would get in a power play without having to pull and squeeze and work back the way you do in zone concepts. So here, again, 21 personnel. We got our fullback in the game on the weak side of the formation. We got our tight end in the game here, the strong side of the formation. So when we run lock, we think about it like power. So we're going to double back to the first linebacker in the box. We're going to have our tight end or fullback front side block the end. Okay. And then we're going to pull through for the first linebacker in the box. Now, when we run lock, we call it our power lock because we're locking up the guard. So the guard's not pulling. We're going to pull the second fullback. Okay. So here, obviously, again, Waterloo does a great job of mixing up their fronts. We got kind of a 5-up look. So when you get teams that are going to stunt and move around, we like this more than we like traditional power because we don't have to worry about people shooting gaps. We're really solid on the backside, C-gap to C-gap. So from the front side, we're going to work our power counter double. Okay, with the nose, I'm not 100% sure if we work in with the nose here. Okay, but basically we're playing through the B gap, through the A gap, through the weak A gap, through the nose, through the weak A gap, through the weak B gap, through the weak C gap. Okay, the nose here we'll probably have our guard and our center work together. Our tackles working a down block through the C gap. Now, if this player wants to play out, he'll kick him out. Okay, so all I want this end out of the C gap. You can put him in the D gap, you can put him in the B gap, but we want him out of the C gap. Okay, so here we square it up nicely, moving our feet. You see we isolate the Sam linebacker. Okay, another great player. And we're going to try and kick them out. So we're going to get that same seal that we got on our one-back power, right? But now we're just doing it out of a heavier personnel. And why do we like this? Well, for me, it's a way to get more guys on the field in summer football. So if you've got a third-string Mike linebacker who's a big athletic kid, but maybe they're just not as good on defense, maybe they're really, really raw and you want to let them, get them on the field almost like a special team. Using the fullback can be a good way to do that. And it also, to me, you bring more players into the box, but you make more people on defense be accountable for their gaps. So I know the spread guys will be, hey, we want to get everybody out of the box, and there's merit to that. But when you can target gaps and change the fits, so for example, here, right, someone needs to track with this fullback. There's not many teams playing 21 personnel, right? So there's not many teams that are making you get into this exact situation, okay? And now we're really solid and physical up front, downhill run play, and we're getting the person who has to fit the run moving horizontally at the snap of the football. Right here, 23 ultimately doesn't get there. Okay. And you can use formations, which we'll get into in a sec, to make that even more effective. Do you see tight ends being the answer to all this tight, odd front looks becoming popular? It's definitely one of them. I can tell you one thing. I don't want to try and run zone out of spread into a tight front. I don't want to do it. It's, as a person who studied the tight front a lot, the angles just suck. So it can be a good way to deter that. It's certainly not the only answer. And it's been great to us, even just in the 40s, honestly, because it especially lock, it really looks like zone. So especially if your linebackers are filling it fits like power, but it looks like zone. So it's really, really hard for those backers to get to their appropriate fit. I think we come back and run on the very next play. So I'll just run forward here. This is the other thing 21 personnel allows you to do. That's Coach John, it's a great point you bring up. As a fan of the tight front, I don't want to see fullbacks and tight ends. It makes it a little bit harder, right? Really, without having the solid edge, you can play it. You can do that stuff on defense still, but it definitely stresses it and would encourage me to get out of it defensively. And I know as an offensive lineman, anything that gets teams out of 30s, I'm all in for. I want teams in base 40 in front of me, not moving around. So that it's a great point. I think it's one of the answers. I think one of the key things we'll get into is you have to be able to be balanced out of these sets. And that's something we'll get to in a minute. So another thing I love about this is going 21 personnel, and it really changes how the defense has to play in the secondary. All the zone coverage stuff you see changes when you add another gap fitter. So for example, most teams like to play cut in the boundary. You can't play cut if that halfback has to be the D gap fitter. Okay. Or I shouldn't say you can, but you're going to give up some in the run game, right? Most teams do not want to give you a one-on-one with your best player, right? So we would do this all the time with Curly. We did it all the time with Brenton. We do it with Ente. We're going to put our best player at the isolated receiver and say, hey, you're going to take two players to cover one. Well, as soon as we've taken two players off the board for one, we have 11 and they have 10. We're going to find a numbers advantage somewhere. So that's where we get into kind of these overload style of runs, okay, where now we're blocked. This is a good look, actually, the tight end versus a tight front look, or a reduction at least from the boundary end. Okay, we put our second slot back over here. Now we can add him into the blocking surface. So now we're going to go 2 for 2. DBs are blocked up. We've got a 2-on-1 here to the field, right? Somebody's got a 2 gap in the box. Right now, we don't get in the end zone there, all right? But, our receivers do a great job blocking. This is a simple off tackle, play that, 10 years ago would have been in everybody's offense, that we're ripping for 25, 30 yards. And we just ran the same play the play before, right? It really, I love power lock is probably one of my favorite plays. That's not super commonly used in the Canadian game yet. My dog's getting all excited about it too. Here, I'll play through to the tight. Great job by the receivers blocking downfield. So again, yeah, here we're getting that tight front, right, where our end is playing inside. The will is going to be responsible for the C gap, and then an off-ball player is going to be responsible for the D gap. You can do this, right? But this is just a tough fit. Like we just have a lot. We have a lot of bodies are going to end up on this edge. You've now got to say, okay, this 38's got to get over the top. They've got to bracket the puller. Okay. 42's got to be able to get, 42's, so I got to be able to get to the A gap, right? 47's got to be able to get to this gap. Well, it's just hard. You're never going to get over the top, right? 38 shoots it, and he's a great player, Reed, but we're able to, get this pinned down, and then we're in the second level. So I think it's a really effective high school play. Yeah, incredible. Great job. I should give the guys proper credit. Cal Taylor and Isaiah Adams working in the boundary here. And it's a really nice job by the guard too to not let 42 run through here. Again, we want to be tight to the double. So I really like this. See how we're tighter to the double than we are to the puller. Always want that on our power stuff. Okay, and we're able to get the ball, down inside the 10-yard line. And again, you're getting numbers, right? Because you're not going to get people leaving you one-on-one. If you do, we'll get into that in a sec. Got a few more locks here. So again, you're not going to get people leaving your best athlete one-on-one to the field. If they do, great. You're running your play action post. You're running your play action dig. You're running your sluggo. Okay. You're getting a lot of, options in the pass game. And it just leaves you a gap short in the boundary, right? And teams don't have a ton of choice. Here we actually crack the off-ball player and we pull around for the first defensive back. And again, we're out in space. The other thing when you get everybody in the box is when you do break the second level, there's just less people at that second and third level. So I do definitely think there's a place for this, especially with the odd front stuff we're seeing. So I like this one because you see it with the crack. So now they're saying, hey, when he comes, you're going to set the edge. Well, let's crack him and pull through and replace. You see how much later one is now to set the edge. We get our fullback up on the halfback. It's a good hit. I got it against a couple. I think just for time, we'll move on to our next concept. One thing I also want to highlight is you need to be able to protect some of these plays, and you need to be able to throw the football out of these sets. I think we're going to have one come up here. So another reason why I love 21 personnel. You're going to get man coverage or you're going to get zone that plays like man because all these players in the box have to be so tight to their gaps. So even if you're not getting play action, you're not going to get the kind of underneath help that you're going to get in normal zone coverage. So here we have, a zone contour 3-on-2. Okay. They've got one of the best boundary corners in the country. So they're taking their chance here one-on-one. Okay. Which understandable. All right. But you're going to get man coverage more times than not. So when we would have this personnel on the field, we would often have great success with quick game just because we were consistently getting man coverage. So here we run the stop in the boundary. We take the one-on-one. Not a huge play, but again, just an example of what you're going to see, right? You're going to get man coverage by being in these personnel sets, which makes throwing some quick game stuff simpler, and it also makes the vertical game, which we'll get into in a sec, simpler as well. So in terms of play action, obviously there's a lot you can do in play action. I actually showed a bunch of clips in our vertical passing game clinic that I did. So I didn't want to double up and re-show those. But there's a lot there that you can see. If you want to go back and take a look at that at 21 personnel. I'm going to pull up another one we had in this game just because I like the action off of it. Okay, again, so pre-snap, like we're gonna get man coverage, right? You're not gonna get, if you're running the football effectively out of this stuff, your quarterback's gonna see a lot of cover one. Okay, we had run an outside zone off of this earlier in the game, so that's what we're play actioning off of here. Again, you get moving parts, right, with a little bit of motion. Try and create a switch. All right, and then we're gonna go hard play action here. You just see the response from the linebackers. Right? I don't know if this is man or zone coverage, but it's man now. Right? I don't know whether they're trying to play, pure man. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a blitz. But the fact that we get these guys dropping out after makes me, seriously consider that it's probably not. Okay. But subtle play action. All right. And then again, if they're going to go 2-on-1 to your isolated receiver, you're going to get 2-on-2 matchups here. Okay, and then whatever your routes you want to run off, and whether it's, here we're running a deep end, and then this should become a skinny post. Okay, but you're just going to get room at the second level. We talked about intermediate passing game that you're not going to get if you're running the spread stuff. Thanks, Coach, for being on here, Coach John. Absolutely catch the trade for stuff later. Yeah, and we're excited to be seeing some Oiwe and CFL football coming soon. You can really see it from this angle on the play action. You're solid in pro. Another reason I love this stuff in high school is you get to help out some young offensive linemen. But again, it looks like zone. you're going to get that second level shot much easier, than trying to get that out of a spread look. The last play that we'll take a look at is what we call Patriots. Again, very similar to power concepts that probably a lot of people are pretty comfortable with. But there's a few things I really like about it. I've got to scroll down here. Actually, while I'm here, I'll show this while we have time. Another thing I think is a misnomer is, you got to be in spread to run RPOs. Well, that's not the clip I wanted. Oh, I want 9, not 5. You can run RPOs out of heavier sets as well. You just got to be aware of formationally who you're actually trying to RPO. This is actually an example of us running quick game. So we're in our 21 personnel here. So this is our tight end. This is something, if you're a high school program, you can do, keep the same guys in the field. We put our tight end out here at Zed. No offense, but most tight ends probably in high school are more limited route runners. I know they aren't all, but there's probably some more limited route runners in high school. And so we put our tight end out at Zed, where we're not going to throw the ball as much. You can get some easy catches if teams are playing zone. Okay, but we're also often going to get man coverage when we're in this personnel. So we put our fullback here at running back and just run a simple quick game. Okay, again, we get the man coverage because we're in a 21 personnel set. Okay, and we get an easy look. Okay, see if I can find that RPO quick. We got Trey Ford coming on in about 5 minutes to talk quarterback development and off-season training in general. Here we go. So here we're in a 21 personnel set. So similar to what you've seen before, we're actually going to run power. So we're going to run old school power here to the field. Okay. We anticipated not getting one-on-one on the backside. So you see here the free safety is going to shade to the boundary, taking away the vertical route there. Okay. So on the front side of this power, we're going to run 2 glance routes. If this Sam linebacker plays the power, we're going to have one of these 2 win on this glance. If the Sam stays in the window, right now we have great angles. We're going to run our downhill power with no force player. So you see here the Sam step up. And if you've watched our Alabama review, or there's another one on RPOs that we did comparing some of these to some of the things that Alabama's done, whether it was, Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs or, most recently Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Mechie, this is a super common route for them. We're going to eat the Sam up on the RPO and snap this in behind. And if they want to play, if the Sam wants to back out of here, we can give the football a run and run the power. So you see here, we're doubling all the way back to the will because we're going to pull for the Mike because we're reading the Sam. So you see this alley we'd be trying to hit. If that Sam bails out, we're going to hit that downhill. All right. Trey's just logging in, so we'll get him on here in a sec. I'll let him in here in a minute and we'll get going. Like I said, if you can, like the video if you haven't already, and throw a comment. It helps more people find it. And the more people that see it, the more people it's going to help. I'm just going to double check that Trey's ready to go here, and we'll get started talking quarterback development. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. It'll definitely be the kind of topic that you want to be able to, get your questions answered. Feel free, again, whether you play another position other than quarterback, any question is a good question. I'm just going to close this here. Appreciate everybody sticking with me through those tech issues. But I'm glad we got it done. I'm gonna pull Trey in here in a second. All right, can you hear me okay there, Trey?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, man. Thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate you coming on. I know you're pretty busy getting ready for the season, so it's a busy time. But glad we could talk a little bit about how you're getting ready for your senior season and your advice for high school players, summer league players, and even probably OUA athletes really as they try and get ready for their combine. So, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself? I know around Ontario, most people, which is majority of our audience, if you watch any OUA football, you already know who I'm talking to. But if you want to just kind of introduce yourself and let people know how you got to Waterloo, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I'm Trey Ford, originally from Niagara Falls. Went to A.N. Meyer Secondary School, currently with University of Waterloo, quarterback, going into my 4th/5th year, depending on how you count COVID, in rec and sports business. And, I've had a pretty successful career, enjoyed it, had fun, and, yeah, looking to give you guys some advice.
Yeah, it's been and I kind of connected with you a little bit earlier today about this, but because through my summer coaching, when you were a senior with playing with the Spears, I was coaching with the Cambridge Lions, and we played twice that season. And I didn't really, the first time we played, I think it's about the middle of the year. You guys beat us, and you guys had a great team. We had a great team, and I really appreciated your game right from there. And one of the things that I've always kind of respected about you is you're a big time player, no doubt about it. Make huge plays, and anyone's watched the OUA has seen that. But like the passion and the joy that you played the game with, I always respected. I feel like, especially in high school, a lot of players who are the best player on their team, they feel the pressure to perform, and that can really like affect like their body language and stuff when things aren't going well, or even when things are going well, right? And it's just something that I was excited to hear your kind of take on how you're preparing, because it's obvious to anyone who watches you play how much you care about your teammates, how much you care about your program, how much you care about playing your best for who you're playing for. So thanks again for being on here. And I'll kind of start with this question, and it's something I'm really interested to hear the answer on. Seeing you play in high school, now seeing you play in the OUA, you were a great playmaker as a high school player. I think, I don't know if you had 50 touchdowns, but in that summer season, but it seemed like I watched a lot of Niagara Spears film that year, you guys being one of the best teams in the league. And if you didn't have 50, you were probably close. And if you were playing in more fourth quarters, you probably would have had 50. But what was the biggest thing for you transitioning to university? Because I've seen a lot of great high school players. I've seen very few high school players who were great in high school truly become better in university, right? Like most players who have that like dominant high school or summer football career, they end up having great university careers. But I've seen a huge amount of development in your game, just from afar. Obviously, your ability as a dual threat quarterback to truly, be one of the best players with the ball in their hand and one of the deadliest passers in the league. I would say that that's something that you've improved on. There's very few people that do that, making the jump. So, what would be your advice to high school players and even high school coaches who are trying to mentor high school players about getting ready to make that jump from high school to university?
Well, one, I would say the first thing is you have to be really confident in yourself and your abilities to make plays and make reads. So, like when I came into university, if the coach said you had to go throw a 16-yard comeback or throw a field side go, I always had the mentality, yeah, I can do it. Let's go. Like whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. So I was always confident in my abilities to make plays and make throws. And I also, like, not to sound cocky or arrogant or anything, but like when I'm one-on-one open field with somebody, I feel like I have a better chance of making them miss than they have tackling me. So I always look at like the positive and I visualize myself succeeding rather than questioning myself like, oh, can I really make that throw? Oh, that's one of the best linebackers in the league. Can I make a miss? I try not to look at everybody's uh, resume and application. I just kind of look at them as that's a football player. I'm a football player. Let's play football. So you don't really try to believe the hype of other players. You just got to be confident in yourself and your abilities. And the next thing I would say is you have to find a school that fits you. So I mean, Waterloo, for sure. I feel like out of all the schools I could have went to, fit like what I was looking for football wise. but also fit academic, which is also a big deal. I mean, you have to find something you like academically, but I feel like the way I was raised, football was always like number one for me growing up. My dad instilled it in us early. Football, football, football. So I mean, like I picked Waterloo for football, and they happen to have a good academic thingy for me, which was extremely blessed. So I mean, that was definitely a big part of it.
Yeah, and I think the confidence is huge. And I think one of the things that allows players to be confident is how they prepare, right? And that was another thing I was always struck by watching you as a high school player and then watching you, in the OUA, is a lot of times great players also make mistakes because they're so used to their natural gifts being able to take over and like you said, make people miss or make a throw other people couldn't make. And I think what makes you such a dynamic player is you make absolute home run plays, but you've also been able to limit your mistakes, which given your playing style, right? Like you don't have, you're playing an exciting, brand of football. I remember when I was watching you play at Niagara, I was like, this guy's the closest thing to Lamar Jackson's on this side of the border. I remember I called one of my buddies who's a coach as well, and I was like, I don't know what this guy's going to do at the next level because it's so hard to tell with quarterbacks, but that's the most dynamic high school player I've ever seen. And so for you to play with that style, that like Lamar Jackson home run style, where you can throw for 505 or run for 250 and 5, it's just whatever the defense gives you. I think you've done a really good job at the OUA level, not relying on those gifts and using them when you need to, but being really efficient and doing a lot of things that help you be successful. Are there any like details specifically at the quarterback position when you're like trying to learn your offense or really just prepare for the season mentally that have helped you play so mistake free, in your career?
Yeah, well, I mean, a big part of it one is like your mental capacity for playing quarterback. Um, and I would say like I'm not the smartest school guy in the world. I can admit it, not the end of the world, but I feel like I have a pretty smart quarterback. Uh, I feel like I make pretty good decisions, and I feel like a big part of it, especially when you're younger, when you are coming from high school to university, a lot of times they'll be like, "Oh, this is your one read, this is your two read. You got to throw the ball." And I feel like me growing up, I was always more of a competitor than a guy who wanted to get the stats and stuff. I wanted to win mostly. So like when I go out there, the reason I don't throw like tons of interceptions or anything is because if I don't see it, I don't throw it. So you can't be like, oh, like if the coach is like, oh, you missed that 6 yard, 12 yard in last series, you got to hit it this time. Like if I don't see it, I'm not going to throw it. Even if it's there, I can't risk a turnover for a maybe. When I throw the ball, I want to know like I'm getting a completion.
Yeah, and that's such a valuable lesson because like the windows just get so much smaller, and that's why I've been so impressed is that even if you do all the things you're supposed to do on and off the field, it's just such a talent jump. So for someone to put up the numbers they put up in high school at the highest level and playing in a challenging conference, right? You guys have a very similar schedule to what we play. You're playing Western, you're playing MAC, you're playing top flight OUA programs on a weekly basis, and putting up huge numbers. So I think again that combination of confidence, and I think that as you say that there, it kind of comes back to me like if you're confident in yourself, you're going to make the throws that make sense, and you're not going to guess, right? And I think that sometimes people think about confidence as a quarterback as they make all the throws, and I know for me as a coach, half the time you have to not lose the game before you win it, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to say confidently, hey, I didn't see it, so I didn't throw it, and I'm okay with that,
Yeah. I
right?
feel like you
That
have to
that
build that trust with your coaches too. I mean, if you're not confident in yourself, I don't know how you expect somebody else to be confident in you, right?
yeah.
You got 11 other guys when you're out there on the field that are looking to you to make the plays, make the reads, and get them the ball and stuff. And if you're not confident you can do that in yourself, you shouldn't be on the field because you're gonna let down those other 11 guys.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great mindset to have in terms of protecting the football because I do think, and I hear this all the time from players, and it's not even just quarterbacks about coach, like I just wanted to make this play, or I saw this, so I tried that, and I know I wasn't really supposed to do it, but that's what I saw, and I tried to make a play, and I think a lot of people think if you're trying to make plays, you have to take a certain level of risk. And obviously, like any time you throw the football, ball could get tipped or you could make a mistake or whatever it is. But I just think it's a valuable lesson for people to hear from, the OUA's, most dynamic playmaker. Hey, you don't have to take unnecessary risks. Like as a quarterback, you have to throw the football, but you never you ultimately always have the choice. And I think for a lot of high school quarterbacks who are dual threat players like yourself, I'm always telling my quarterbacks in the summer, hey, if you can run, like your legs are a weapon. Like don't sacrifice the chance to run the football to make a throw you don't feel good about. And I think,
Yeah, my coach has always told me is if say there you have an 8 yard out and you can get the ball there, perfect, or you can run for 8 because you don't have to like worry about missing the throw, worried about the receiver bobbling it. If you can get 8 and get the first down, get the first down.
Yeah. And I think, again, that comes back to like the not being selfish. And I think sometimes too, and I've talked with quarterbacks about this, and it's a stereotype in the game that's so inaccurate, especially the way the game's played now. A lot of people see a mobile quarterback and they try and put you in a box, right? Like, oh, that's a running quarterback, right? Because back in the day when you had the old school triple option, that was more, yeah, you'd have some quarterbacks that weren't good passers because they didn't pass the ball. Now, you're seeing high school quarterbacks that are asked to do more than, college quarterbacks were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? And so, I think being able to take pride and have a sense of confidence in, hey, it's kind of like a point guard in basketball. Like if I need to dish it, I'll dish it. If I need to get to the rim, I'll get to the rim.
Yeah.
If I need to shoot the three, I'll shoot the three, right? You're just able to take advantage of the defense in a different way. And I think having confidence in that, that's the biggest thing I'll take to my high school quarterbacks from this conversation is, don't make throws you don't see, right? And that kind of brings me to my next question, which is a little more, about preparation physically so you can make the throws when you see them. Obviously I was aware of you as a player, but I've recently followed your training account on Instagram, and you're posting a ton of good stuff, whether it's field work or strength work or speed work. And it's really good stuff that I've been seeing recently in terms of developing as a quarterback. So if you're talking to a high school quarterback or maybe even a younger quarterback, and you're looking at developing arm strength, because I know that was one thing that I heard people say about you when you were coming out, because obviously, you're an electric athlete, but as well, can he make all the OUA throws? And, I've seen you make every OUA throw in the book, a few too many times to the team I'm playing against, or I'm coaching for, sorry. But, what have you done to try and continue to develop arm strength so that you can make all those throws that you feel confident in?
Yeah, well, I mean, like when I did come out, a lot of people thought I wasn't like I couldn't throw very far. I wasn't super accurate. And like once we got into training camp, our coaches are like even like the Waterloo coaches had like no idea. They're like we didn't know you could throw like that. Like you're hitting all the throws, like you can throw it deep, like you're not missing anything. And like I said, part of it is going back to like you got to be confident in your throws. But I mean, a big part of developing throwing is actually throwing. Like you got to go out there, you got to be throwing for. Like, I mean, in high school, you have practice Monday through Friday. You throw every single day. We only had one quarterback in high school. It was me. So, I mean, 2 hours straight, I'm throwing every single day. And then we'd go on the weekend sometimes, 1 or 2 days on the weekend, and we're throwing. And you do that, like you're going to build arm strength just through repetition and throwing. And I mean, you don't have to go throw it 50 yards every single day. Say 2 out of those 3 days, you say an extra 20 minutes after practice, you practice your deep ball. And you do that 1 or 2 times a week, you're going to start throwing farther and farther and farther. So it's just throwing. It's just really repetition that gets you there. You don't need to be doing anything. If anybody ever says try to do weights and stuff to get your throwing motion properly, you're just going to hurt your shoulder. All you have to be able to do is throw a football. Just repetition is going to get you there.
Yeah, and I think, for young quarterbacks that are listening to it too, it's also like it's a progression, right? Like I think because especially now that we have, Instagram and all this stuff, it's great. But what you see these videos of like incredible high school players that are one in a million and throwing a ball 60 yards. And a kid looks at that and goes, oh, I can't do that. Well, it's like, yeah, you're 14. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to develop as you continue to progress. And,
on that topic too, like those guys, you make that throw, everybody puts it online, you see everything, but you don't see the 35 they missed, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I miss throws. Everybody misses throws. And some people can throw it farther. Newsflash for all the quarterbacks out there, you don't really throw 60, 75 yards in a game. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, the most you probably throw is maybe 50.
100%. One question I actually had, and I didn't throw this in the email because I just thought of it as we were talking, and I think it's super relevant for high school players because for a lot of different reasons, high school quarterbacks end up on the run, right? I'm sure you can relate to that, whether it's because they're just a good athlete and it's one of the ways that they're effective attacking the defense, or, you're as a quarterback, you're one of the better players in the team, so the defense is trying to bring pressure, or maybe your O-line misses a block here or there. When you're on the run, what are you doing with your body to try and keep your accuracy? Because that's one thing that blows a lot of people away is you can be all over the place running around, and then you put it on Gordon Lamb or Ternowski on a rope, right? And it's like you're throwing that ball in rhythm. Is there anything that you really try and focus on when you're moving to stay accurate with the football?
I would honestly just say you got to practice throwing on the run. And once you get smooth throwing on the run, like you just get to a point where you don't really think about throwing. Like once you get your arm to that like the strength it needs to be, and you feel confident in yourself, I could be running backwards and feel like I could make the throw. I mean, yeah, it's just repetition, confidence, and it just comes naturally. You're running around, and when you get in that competitive mindset, and you're not thinking, oh, can I make this throw? You're saying, there's a guy 15 yards downfield, he's open, he needs the ball now. That's the mindset you have to get.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for quarterbacks, I think, to build that confidence again, because more doubt comes from you usually, right? Like what I'm getting from this conversation is, you've said to yourself, hey, like I'm not going to doubt myself. Like I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to do everything I need to do, and I'm going to go play free, right? I always tell my guys, you earn your right to be confident, right? And if you've done the work, you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing with the confidence that you've earned, right? And that's one thing that's really coming through in this conversation is you got to believe in yourself first, right?
Yeah.
And that's critical.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, in terms of like more specifically now getting to like speed work, right? And I know obviously as a guy that doesn't run very fast, there's fast people and there's people that don't run as well. But when you're and I know you had some videos too that you can pull up here. I'll make sure you can share your screen whenever it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how to pull them up though.
If you're, pardon?
I don't really know how to pull them up, to be honest.
Okay. Well, maybe what I'll do is if you send some of those to me, I'll splice them in after, and when I remake it the non-live version, I'll get them in there. But yeah. So no worries about that. If you're a high school athlete, if you're going to go back, as a high school player, and you were looking at your summer, kind of where we are now, middle of June to, high school training camps, funnily enough, will be the same as university this year, starting in September. What are you telling yourself about, hey, what should my summer look like in terms of, how much is throwing on the field, how much of it is speed work, how much of it is, in the weight room trying to work on your body?
Yeah. I mean, when I came out of high school, I was relatively like the same height. I was like almost 6 foot or whatever, but I was like maybe 160, maybe 70 pounds. I was a pretty small guy, and everybody just talks about, oh, once you get to the next level, everybody's bigger. So, I mean, I was always in the gym doing upper body, bench press and stuff, trying to get bigger and everything. But I mean, it's great for other positions, but as quarterbacks, looking back, like I should have just been throwing on the field, and I should have just been doing speed work, because those are what are going to benefit me the most as a player, because it's my play style. Like that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing legs 4 to 5 times a week and then throwing every single day. So, I mean, that's what it looks like for me. You still got to throw some upper body in, but you don't have to go super heavy. Just stay lean, get as fast as possible, speed kills, and get out there and work on your arm.
Yeah, and I think that's something that no matter what position you play, like as an offensive lineman, obviously like size is a common metric, right? Like I was undersized, and that was a big stressor for me. But I was fortunate because my dad, who played in the CIS and was a high school coach, said the whole time, like, look, like strength matters more, right? And you can't be 130 pounds and play O-line in the OUA, but you know what I mean? If you can afford to be 20 pounds lighter, if you're 30 pounds stronger, right? Yeah. And in that way, sometimes being a little bit lighter can be a benefit, because you might move well with the strength of a larger player. And so in terms of like speed work, what are some like really simple things players could be doing? Hey, I want to get faster. I play a skill position. Maybe they even run track, but they're looking for some specific skill or speed work that that they could be doing. And you could try, like, if you want to share your screen, like if you just go onto Instagram, you could play it through your Instagram. If you want, like on your laptop, I mean, like if you go to the browser, you might have to log in. But if you don't have any, if we can't get them up, I'll get them in when I put this back out. But yeah, so what would be your advice for speed work if players want to get faster this summer?
Yeah, so what I would say, definitely hit the ladder. It's good for like that fast twitch muscle. And it'll get you more explosive and stuff. Obviously doing more explosive exercises and stuff. You want to do a bunch of body weight stuff is good too. Even just if you don't have a gym, body weight lunges, squat jumps, all that kind of good stuff. But the main thing, if you're trying to get faster, the best way to get faster is to run fast. So when you're doing your 20, 30, 40 yard sprints, whatever you're doing, you want to hit max speed. You want to try to get as fast as possible as you can. And you can take a 5-minute break after one rep. You want to get a full recovery after you're doing your sprints. And that's the best way. You work on your mechanics more when you're getting faster, when you're at your fastest speed. It's the best way to get faster in general, is to be running at fast speeds.
So if you're someone, and I know this is something you have a big background in, but if you're someone who's, hasn't really been taught how to run, like I know there's some natural to it, but in terms of you're trying to improve your form, like I see a lot of athletes that are very tight, a lot of athletes that, their gait isn't as efficient as it could be. Like, what's one thing you would say that maybe you've seen in like people you've played with or teammates or people that train with you, where you say, hey, if you clean that up, like you'll be so much more efficient. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, a lot of people when they run, they have wasted movement on the backside. So you want to pick your knees up really, really high, and you don't want your legs to cycle all the way back and hit your butt. As soon as it hits the ground, you want those to pull up as fast as you can and get it back up to a high knee. You want to waste that in your upper body. You want to try to be relaxed. A lot of people too, especially in Canada, they run like hockey players, so they go side to side, whereas you want to try to get that more vertical and upright, and you want all your momentum and force moving forward. You don't want to be moving side to side.
Yeah, and I think that's a big one. I think a lot of players, like you said, they're multi-sport athletes, but unless they've run track and have some experience running track, you can actually improve your speed. I know that, there's always going to be what you're born with from a fast twitch perspective. That's going to set maybe the ceiling, right? But you're going to be able to improve within that potential by being more efficient. And it doesn't matter what position you play, right? Yeah. Like that's why you see some of those players that aren't as impressive physically that just seem to find ways, like, honestly, like Gordon, a guy who you play with, who I coach with Lions, he doesn't look like, he's got a crazy extra gear, but he always finds one when he needs it, right at the top of a route or, and it all, whether you're running routes or you're just running, it comes down to efficiency. So if there's any drills on your Instagram, I have yours pulled up on on my browser. So I can share my screen here. And if you want to say, hey, go to that like third video, we can open some up if you want to show anybody, some of the work that you've done. Because part of why I wanted to do this too is, I've been kind of watching what you post daily. Like the content it's almost hard for me to keep up with, which is great. If anyone's looking, to follow Trey, it's at Trizzy Trains, correct?
Yeah.
2 Z's.
Yeah.
On Instagram, and there's great stuff, whether it's on field or off field in the gym, that you can kind of take a look at and see if you want to incorporate with your program. Do you mind if I can pull that up and you can, suggest any that, some drills that people might find helpful?
Yeah, for sure.
As someone who coaches high school athletes, I just felt like it was a really valuable, there you go. There's the handle. If you're looking to follow it, and it's just, there's a ton of great stuff. Like I said, whether it's, on field work, or sprint training or drills and stuff. So are there any of these that you want me to start with?
I mean, if you just pause right there for a second, the one in the top right-hand corner right now is an example of how you want your legs to be. You want that knee coming up high. And that's like, so those were bounds to try to lengthen out my strides when I'm running. but you want to try to get that knee to come up as high as possible to maximize your strides. And you want to have that forward lean going when you're initially running, because that's your drive phase. That's where you try to build up your power and speed as fast as possible. And once you start to hit more of your max speed, you want to straighten out and you want to become more relaxed and let your legs do more of the running. And you want to try to stay as much as possible. There you go.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that, again, a lot of people don't understand. They want to work hard, right? So they just try and run faster. And there's things that you can do that's not necessarily about trying harder. It's about having some guidance, about what you can actually do to efficiently make a difference.
100%.
Any other ones here? I don't want to exit out the page. There we go.
The one underneath that one also too, the guy with the orange hat in the background.
Yep.
With the band. That's a really, really good one for increasing your drive. Your drive phase at the start is doing resisted sprints. Really, really good for just building up the speed. That was an incline run right there. Also, again, great for speed. Just working on my drive phase because I want to be able to hit my max speed, like my top end speed and my 40-yard dash, which is what I've been working on. Because right now I'm not hitting my top end speed in the 40, which I want to get to. So I'm working on my drive phase.
Awesome. As we go down here, it could be speed stuff or strength stuff. Anything else you want me to hit on?
I can explain some stuff if you want, but I mean, the one right there too, actually the one throwing the ball right there on the Bosu ball, that one's really good. It's just more for stability. And there's ladder work, trying to get faster feet, working on the fast twitch. Always want to be working on your throwing motion in general. You want to get all the mechanics down and just staying reactive all the time, ready to go. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. With what's the key with this Bosu ball? So I know like you're obviously trying to stay balanced in your core. What are the key coaching points that you're telling yourself while you're doing that drill?
Well, on that one, you want to try to obviously, like you said, you want to contract your core. You want to stay tight, but you also want to try to drive. That's more of a one for your arm power, because you don't get as much rotation because you're trying to stay as still as possible while also balancing. So it's more of a throw just on your arm to try to increase the torque on your arm, because you're not getting really any twist with your body because you're obviously stuck on the Bosu ball trying to balance. So you're not getting a lot of spin from that.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, like you can see on here, there's so much stuff. And what I like about it is it covers a wide variety of topics, whether it's like strength conditioning, throwing mechanics, and speed work. So, especially high school athletes, make sure you check it out, because I know it's hard to get good advice on what to do in high school, right? Like there's so little time, between being in school, part-time job, playing football, getting in the gym. You want to make sure you're using your time efficiently and you're not just trying harder. You're working smarter. So maybe we'll go one last question here, and I didn't throw this in the list of questions either. So, if you don't have, necessarily a ton of stuff here, that's more on me, but in the recruiting process, like I know your recruiting process would have been interesting because you obviously went through it with your brother, and there's obviously being twins, not too many people get to go through that. A lot of people, maybe have a sibling that plays sports and maybe plays U Sport or NCAA or whatever, but very few people get to go through it with two people. What would your advice be to athletes, whether they're, just starting that, in grade 9 or they're getting close to, making a decision in grade 12? Like any advice on the recruiting journey and things that you were glad you did or things that you would, really want to make sure you do if you got another shot at it?
Well, yeah, personally, I don't really regret anything that happened in my recruiting process. It's great if schools want to bring you out. It's great to go on your official visits and check everything out, check out the school. Big question to ask is where you fit in on the depth chart. I know they're going to say you start at the bottom because you're a rookie, but when you're going in, especially as a quarterback, if they just signed 3 quarterbacks the year before you and there's 2 more in the year above that, and it's looking like you're going to sit for 2 or 3 years, probably not the best school to go if you're trying to play football. Definitely look in a spot where you're going to play as soon as possible, because you're going to get better at practice But there's nothing like improvement in the game. Like games and game scenarios are what are going to get you better as a quarterback. And I mean, if your goal is the same as mine to go play professional football or even just play in the OUA, you want to get a chance to play, and that's how you get better.
Yeah, and it's it's different for everybody, right? Like everyone's going through a different process, and there's so much to think about. And I think the biggest piece of advice that I try and give people is, like you said, go on as many visits as you can, right?
Mhm.
Like don't assume things about a school based on what you hear from someone else, or what you thought watching one game they played. Like meet as many people as you can for the schools you're interested in, right? I know there's I've seen players that go on maybe 15 or 16 recruiting visits. I'm not necessarily saying that, because I think it's pretty hard to be a good high school student if 15 of your weekends in the spring are spent on different campuses. But if you have an academic interest, and if you have some things about the football program you're specifically looking for, and you can narrow it down to maybe 5 or 6 schools that you're personally really interested in. I just always tell people, go on all the visits, right? Because you never know in person, right, the relationship you're going to make, or what you're going to learn about that school. And you can't really know a school till you're there,
Yeah.
right? And it's crazy. Like I grew up in Guelph, and I grew up 25 minutes from Laurier, and I had never been on Laurier's campus until my recruiting visit. And so for me, that made a big difference, right? And I know I talked to the guys that I coach in the summer, or freshmen that I've coached at Laurier, all of them, no matter what school they go to, they always talk about how important it was to go on the visit. And I know some guys that have had a school that was third or fourth in their list, and then they go on a visit, and all of a sudden it's way up because they learned something about the campus, or they learned something about the football program, or they learned
Mhm.
something about their academic program, that really changes things. So that's great advice. And if there's anything else you want to share that you don't think you've said already, something you forgot for a question before, I always try and give guys a chance to say that. But if not, just thanks so much for coming on. And I can't you know I can't encourage people enough. There's so many good resources popping up online now to help high school athletes, to help athletes in general, or coaches in general who are trying to help athletes. And it's free, right? It's on Instagram, it's available. So go check Trey's stuff out there. And good luck in the OUA this season. I think it'll just be great to see. I know it's your draft year, and and your brother's draft year, and there'll be a lot of people excited to see how your season this year translates into a pro career. Whether it be in the NFL or the CFL. So thanks so much for being on here. And I'd encourage everyone who gets a chance, if you can get to go to any OUA games, this fall. I can speak from firsthand knowledge that Waterloo and Trey are worth the price of admission. So if you get a chance to go, whether it's on the road or here in Waterloo, it's a great, the OUA game is a great game to watch. And excited to see more players like Trey get a chance to play this fall.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say though. If you guys are around, come check out a game. It'd be great. I'll even chat you up after, but you just got to hunt me down before I head out. But yeah, thanks for having me again.
Awesome. Appreciate it. I'm going to take us off the live here. Thanks so much for everyone who stuck it out. We had some tech issues off the jump with my webcam wouldn't turn on. So that was a good 20-minute struggle, but we got going. And thanks so much, Trey, for being here. I'm going to take us off the live stream. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It helps us out, and like the video, throw a comment on there.